Week 18, a lot of the drama has been taken out of it, at least for the Browns. Browns lock up the 5 seed. Who they play is to be determined. We will get to that in a second here. But first, we got Browns and the Bengals this Sunday. Eric, let's go to you first here. Who should we expect to play in this Browns game?
Yeah, it's the big debate of rest versus rust, but I'm calling this rest versus risk. And I do not want the Browns to risk any further injuries. We've seen multiple guys go on IR, miss multiple weeks this year. It's been happening ever since Jack Conklin in week 1. I would say don't play anybody of real significance. Your Denzel Ward, your Myles Garrett, pretty much anybody who touches the ball regularly on offense, most of your offensive line. I'm good if they have like a walkthrough, even light practice this week. I know something that Stefanski's done that I hadn't seen in prior coaches is have the guys still go through warmups even if they don't play. So at least, they're getting that routine down without necessarily taking the snaps. As far as guys that I'd like to see play, I'd like to see some of the younger guys, the Isaiah McGuire, the Mahmoud Diabate, the Khalif Halasse, Cameron Mitchell, some of the younger guys that have kind of filled in already in injury situations. So maybe see what they can do against the likes of T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase on their offense. And then on the other side, we're going to have Jordan Akins, Leroy Watson, Jeff Driscoll getting some PT with PJ Walker at quarterback. Again, they're still going to have some good players out there. Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson, Logan Wilson. I don't expect these guys to get a lot of playing time in the playoffs, but maybe that's some good exposure that they're going to get if they are in need of a playing time in a pinch down the road. So a lot of options around here, but got to be smart. But don't want the guys tuning out.
Yeah, in a similar situation, the Ravens they are going to have a bye. They locked up the 1 seed. Have a game this weekend that doesn't mean much. Drew, if you are John Harbaugh, how are you treating this situation? Is it similar to the Browns, or do you want them to play a little bit more?
Yeah, if I'm John Harbaugh, or for that matter, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I treat this week like it's the week before the important preseason game. It used to always be preseason game number 3. I suspect it still is. That's the one where the starters actually play more than a couple of series, right? So you go into the whole week and you let guys know, like, you're going to expect to see some time on this, on the field here. So prep for your opponent, go through the same routine that you've gone through for the previous 17 weeks in, even in with some of the preseason games, right? If you come out and you tell guys you're not playing, they take that week off. If not physically, then it's just human nature to take that week off mentally. You're not prepping to go into the game. You're not going to play. It's impossible to be in that same state mentally that you need to be in. And we've seen this happen lots of times. Those teams that have the number 1 seed locked up before the final week, they rest all their starters. And then obviously they have that bye week in between. And so you end up going almost 17 days without actually playing in or preparing for a game in some cases. And that is a lot of time away. And that leads to people being rusty and sort of struggling out the gate. So certainly if I'm Ryan's favorite team, the Baltimore Ravens, I would prepare to play at least a quarter against what is your hated rival, right? Like, you can go out there with the first team, stomp the should have been last place Pittsburgh Steelers, at least for the first quarter, and then you turn it over to your backups to see what they can do. And if I'm Kevin Stefanski, I say a similar type of a message to my team. I want you to go out there and stomp the last place Cincinnati Bengals. And yeah, if some guys don't play at all, I would understand that because they have a game the next week, right? Maybe you do things like rest a Myles Garrett or a Denzel Ward, certainly any of the injury-prone players like Denzel. I would say, you can't risk them being out there. But for the majority of the team, and I would include a decent amount of the offense there, you're not going to play Amari Cooper, you're not going to play Elijah Moore. Those guys are already dinged up. And you probably need to rest Flacco. You can't risk having anything happen to him. But I think what's left of the first team offensive line, I think Jerome Ford, Peter Strong, Kareem Hunt all should see a decent amount of action. And I would get looks at some of the younger receivers that are still counted on, guys like David Bell, guys like Cedric Tillman. I would expect them to play the whole game.
Ravens certainly helped me out with my picks this season, but I'm not going to be rooting on any of the Harbaughs for this playoff season. Eric, let's go back to you. Jaguars facing the Titans. Jags win. They get the 4 seed, would face the Browns. But if they lose, it gets a little bit more interesting. Colts and the Texans would then be fighting for that position to face the Browns. Eric, what do you predict? What happens with those games? Who would you like to see the Browns face?
Well, if you look at the odds, it looks like the Jaguars are likely going to take that division, laying 5.5 in Tennessee. So that's the most likely scenario. If they were to somehow lose, then obviously it's going to come down to the game on Saturday night between the Texans and Colts. Personally, I'd like to see us travel over about five hours west to Indianapolis. Browns try to take over that stadium, buy as many tickets as possible. It's drivable. It's not too expensive. When we played Trevor Lawrence, he was a little bit hobbled. So I like to think he is not going to be that way, but he has been banged up. So it's kind of a wild card there. But I think even with a fully healthy Gardner Minshew, I'd rather play the Colts. And also the proximity. So, the CJ Stroud's still a rookie, but he's a very good rookie, and we didn't go against him. So we have film of other games, but have not gone up against him. So he's, compared to an unhealthy Trevor Lawrence, he's the best of the 3 quarterbacks. Now, if you have a fully healthy Trevor Lawrence, we can, change that conversation around. But let's just stick with the Colts if possible. But I think we'll be ready for the Jaguars if they were to win on Sunday.
Going back to the Bengals and Browns, weather not looking so good for this game. So maybe a trip down to Jacksonville might be a reprieve for those Browns fans who are going to travel to this first round game. Drew, do you want to see the Colts? Any difference on who we should want to play in that first round?
Yeah, just real quick. I expect there to be plenty of good seats still available at Paul Brown Stadium there, what used to be Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. That's not a knock on the last place Cincinnati Bengals. That is a knock. But the Bengals have nothing to play for as well. I expect bad weather, and there's probably going to be maybe 25,000 people at that stadium. So I don't expect to see a ton of folks turn out for that one. In terms of who I would like to see the Browns play, I think I'd rather see them play the Colts for a lot of the reasons that Eric mentioned. But the main reason that I'll add is the psychological sort of advantage that the Browns have, knowing that they've already survived the Gardner Minshew game when he went all Hulk Hogan, Minshew mania, Hulkamania, and just hulked out and just kept scoring touchdown after touchdown on the league's best defense and made them look like they didn't belong on the field with him. And to come out of that game with PJ Walker as your starting quarterback and win that's a huge psychological advantage. You can beat them with withstanding their best punch, right? And you can't say that about the other two teams. CJ Stroud wasn't playing when we beat Houston. and Trevor Lawrence was very hobbled. And that game was, I believe that was in Cleveland. I'd have to double check that, but that wasn't in Jacksonville, right? So there's certainly reasons for the other teams to believe that they can beat the Browns. In the Colts case, they would have to hope that they can beat the Browns. And that is a very different psychological place to be. So that Texans-Colts game certainly matters. The winner of that game is going to be in the playoffs in some fashion, whether it's as the number 7 seed or as the number 4 seed. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one. And if I had to pick it, if I got my choice, I'd like to see the Colts pull off the slight upset there.
Who will be the head of the table in the AFC South? And when it comes to the Ravens, to be the man, you've got to beat the man. The Browns have their work cut out for them ahead, but we'll be watching the end of this regular season, and it's going to be one heck of a playoffs ahead.
Go Browns.
Woo!
Go Browns.